Morning, everybody. Welcome back. Really excited to be back with the season three premiere. This is Kevin from Watch This with Joe and Kevin. Back with the Sopranos. The last two episodes of the season gave us two significant deaths, right? Richie in the penultimate episode, and then Sal in the last episode. And I think moving forward into season three, there has to be consequences for both of those. Um, One, kind of an existential threat to Tony and Richie. Richie's dead. Everyone knows that he was gunning for Tony. That's not a secret. So I think the assumption is going to be, even though technically Tony didn't really kill Richie, um, he's going to be the one to face the consequences for it because there's going to be assumption he did. Ricky's guys, including Richie's son, are probably going to be out for blood over the fact that Richie's vanishes and is clearly dead and gone. And then with Sal, I was thinking about it this morning. And as we kind of were getting towards the end of the season, Dr. Melfi talking with Tony tells him, like, you might be the kind of a disassociative, not disassociative, but antisocial personality that when you're doing these horrible things, you don't have to stop and think about them. You can distract yourself all the time with with hanging out with your friends and playing cards, with the women, with the drinking, with being busy with your family, all this other stuff. But when you have to stop and not have distractions, that's when that creeping guilt really starts to take hold of you. That's when the panic and the dread of what you are and what you've done takes hold. When he killed Sal in the last episode, he and the other guys with him that did it were clearly angry. It was an act of vengeance and rage when they did kill him. But we established that they were really close for most of their lives. So I kind of feel like as we get into season three, Tony's going to have to, after he calms down and has other things going on in his life, he's going to have to deal with that. We didn't really see him do it, which kind of plays into the type of personality it's established that he has. So I'm really excited to see how that manifests itself in that, for a guy who does terrible things all the time and doesn't like to face it, he just killed a really good friend of his for what he considers to be really justifiable reasons. So, what's that going to look like when it really starts to eat at him? Because I really think it will. I do want to go ahead and get started here. I want to thank all of our Patreon subscribers for being here with me today. I want to go and give a special shout out to Actuarial Lurker, Balazs Foldes, Chris, Jeff, Christy Goverston, NJ, Surya Gundavarapu, Weird Magic, Torgier Linkstad, Derek Peterson, and WerePanda47. Thank you so much, guys. Really glad you're here with us. If you would like to see a full-length reaction to this and everything else that we've watched or are currently watching, please check out the link in the description below to our Patreon page. Every show, including The Sopranos, we are at least 4 episodes ahead on Patreon of where we're on YouTube. So if you get done watching the YouTube edits and want to continue, you can do it on our Patreon page. You will have to sync and watch along on your own source material. You'll only see us for copyright purposes. Also, Dr. Melfi is still kind of going through a personal crisis, and I kind of see how that manifests itself as well moving forward. It should be getting close to 9/11, I feel like. I kind of wonder if the show, how or if they I mean, it's in New York. The show's set in New York. It has to be addressed, right? I mean, maybe in this universe it doesn't happen, but this doesn't seem like the kind of show to shy away from something like that. This is Tony's house. With all the exterior lights, it did have kind of a compound feel to it, which I haven't felt before. I always feel like it's just kind of an unprotected house. Tony looking depressed as usual. This music's an interesting choice. Oh. So we're having turf wars to start this season? I wonder if Richie's family, because they were arguing about it.
I think the family was relieved he got taken out.
Really? Hey, waiter.
See, Tony doesn't incriminate himself.
I think at this point it's time to consider 16 bump and sour compost.
Yeah.
Mail and wire fraud, especially if the mother testifies in exchange for immunity.
Come on, whose own mother's going to testify against him?
You haven't met this woman.
It's also the most likely to yield a prosecutable murder.
Richie Aprile. Exactly. No doubt about it, the cartel had him whacked.
No doubt about it.
The listening device will be fabricated, and we will re-enter to install it.
We'll see that they limit both entrances to the basement only.
Get this? I mean, yeah.
Happy hunting.
We're watching The Wire right now. This is a fascinating process. Obviously, it's going to be streamlined in this show.
Listen, I'll save you some gas. I'm just going down to the stationery store, then I'll be right back. You don't gotta follow me like yesterday. All right?
Yeah, that's funny.
Stasiu Vocilius.
I'll run that by anti-terrorism, just for laughs.
Yes.
Any one of them breaks for home. We need to warn the SCT team to get the hell out of there.
I love how this is shot, like the fade outs and ends. We're really covering some time here. Anthony Jr. never surprises me as far as like the different personalities he tries on.
Unit 1, this is Control. Baby Bing headed your way.
Copy, Control.
It was a big process with their tailing everybody.
Excuse me. Unit 3, Mrs. Bing also in motion.
I'm a fool to do.
This is supposed to be funny, right? Is this the Spy vs. Spy song? Interesting music transition from Spy vs. Spy to I'll Be Watching You. I don't think the show's done music this much except for the opera. It's such a different episode for a premiere. We're just kind of getting a FBI procedural. We haven't really focused on the family at all.
Pickett Wilson.
Still accept things going to go wrong for these guys. I feel like they cover their bases so well they're going to miss somebody like her mother or something, or Tony's mom.
Who was born first, you or Spoon?
Philip was my kid brother. By 11 minutes.
Or twins, I thought it was a villain.
Somebody whacked a kid. A couple months before you came over.
You big mouth.
Oh, Tony did. That's right. Okay.
Don't it happen that identical twins, a lot of times, they'll die within a couple of days of each other?
That would have been okay with me, believe me.
Oh my God.
But you're with us now, so why don't you, leave the morbid shit back at Junior's crew and have a happy birthday?
Oh my God.
What's up, Slim?
What class you guys ditching? Assembly.
No.
Whoa. Well, what position?
Douchebag.
What if AJ feels kind of left out because his dad was a baseball player?
Who wrote the Star Spangled Banner?
Martin Luther King.
No.
That's answer to number 49. Who was civil rights leader?
Say it.
Which sandwiches for you? I was an engineer with 20 employees and a grant from the state to do autonomous research.
That's a pretty common immigrant story, isn't it?
Put them with capers. I take them home.
And należy tu pani Soprano.
Oni mają wszystkiego, za dużo jutro zabieram.
So the maid is stealing. These guys are really taking their time.
My dad was a plumber. Tony got about 6 months left to go on that lining.
Oh, it's a shame that we can't warn him. No, by that time, boom!
Okay, now you see that lamp there?
Are we foreshadowing something with the water heater? Now I'm going to be watching all season to see if the water heater blows up. Okay, so they did get away with it. I'm assuming this is definitely past the 2 hours. Oh, she's got to distress it. That's cool.
Okay, fellas and gals, our big day. And as I speak, I have Baby Bing right on time.
Oh, this is day 2. Okay, this is putting it back. This is where something goes wrong.
Patsy launches into this single-malt diatribe about how people can smile in your face and still be a villain. And that he knows how his brother died.
Oh.
Maybe a cop trying to flip him. Getting them worked up with theories.
Yeah?
But it's gotta be hard coming into work every day, looking right into the eyes of the guy you know ordered your brother whacked.
Who doesn't know, right?
Ow!
Okay, guys, collect. Actually, Aid, let me work with you here. Carm, you collect.
Is the tennis pro into Adriana? That's kind of what it felt like.
Maid's car's still here.
Maybe she's not going today because she's been fighting with her boyfriend.
And follow through.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear something?
I did.
Okay. Stand up straight, okay? Okay, here you go.
Yeah, Carmela knows what's up. Is the maid calling her? Something at home? Yeah. What is it that blew this? I bet it's something small. Peeling out of the house. It was almost kind of obvious how fast the truck was speeding away. The water heater finally blew.
10 years. 10 Years he said this thing would last.
Oh, it just sucks.
Water heater blew. Just blew.
I'm gonna check my water heater after this episode.
I don't see him, but I see an arm, a piece of a robe. It could be Tony. He's eating sugar pops. Is that Pat Parisi?
Oh, whoa! Call that in.
He's drunk.
Yeah, okay, I figured that's what he was doing there.
Unit 2, Mrs. Bing in motion. Just the maid and it's all yours, team.
Copy that.
What happens if you go in and that lamp is gone because of the flood?
Be back in a second.
Listen to this now. Hi, Abe.
Hi.
Well, she is coming on strong. Is it wiping prints on? Are they abandoning the car?
I like being here.
You sure?
Wipe the car down because they're going to kill the guy here.
I'm gonna go get a coffee and a bun.
Is Fiora going to come in and kill him?
Control, you hearing me?
Loud and clear. Leave the factory.
Roger that.
Oh, so this worked.
Might get a little messy.
I understand.
Wet work.
Is it wet work? What I think it is? No.
The old one blew. Flooded the whole goddamn place.
That's funny. Interesting. I wonder if that's part of the warrant or that's just the general rule.
Stas said he could smell the mildew down here. Right, Stas? Got some Russian girl coming in to take care of my mother.
Oh, yeah? Where'd you find her?
Agency.
I really love how they're laying this out with a lot of the tension, but this isn't a tense conversation at all.
You know, I've had something stuck in my teeth for 2 days now. Jesus.
You gotta use the other floss.
Interesting. That is absolutely not what I would expect from a season premiere. I'm kind of curious how that was received when it came out. I'm thinking, of course, of people who are watching the show in real time on HBO. So I don't know, how many 6 months, whatever it was, between season 2 ending on HBO and season 3 beginning, and like the build up and the anticipation of what's next for the fans of the show. And when you get to it, ultimately, this episode was kind of a police procedural about the FBI, and ultimately what you get is you get a warrant in the house. Not a whole lot in terms of the business, other than there's potentially a problem, a twin problem, but you don't really get much more than that, other than we end the episode with, okay, now we know that the FBI is listening to Tony. I love that. I didn't have a problem with this episode at all, but I feel like it is a departure from the rest of the story. I don't want to say a filler episode, but it's not far off. And we just watched a filler episode on The West Wing. And I can understand, we talked about how filler episodes can sometimes be frustrating for audiences because it's like, okay, great, you did this, but can we please get on with the story we actually want to watch? It feels like a stall. I mentioned that one show I used to watch and jumped off the bandwagon, I think a lot of people did, was The Walking Dead, right? They were notoriously crappy about messing with the audience with filler shows, contrived cliffhangers, and then after you come back after the cliffhangers, like, okay, how's it resolve itself? But they'd follow other characters for an episode, so it's like, we're not even going to get back to that story for 2 weeks, and I can see how that's kind of frustrating. I thought this one was a lot of fun. I thought it was funny. I thought it was tense. I kept expecting something to go wrong that never really materialized, which is kind of shows how mundane this is. We end with them having mundane conversations, really drive that point home. But for a season premiere, I feel like you're expecting big things to kick off the story. And beyond the fact that we now know that Tony is under actual surveillance in the basement, so the police threat to him is pretty high, not a whole lot happened in terms of the story. I mean, I feel like we have a bug in Tony's house could have almost been like a conversation at the beginning of the episode, right? Hey, Sal's disappeared. We've lost a lot of our evidence in the Rico case because a lot of it was Sal. Without him testifying, we've lost a lot of what we have. Oh, don't worry. we got a bug in the basement. Sal told us that's where they talked, but instead they did this to where they really kind of spent an hour showing us how that process happened, which makes me kind of wonder, like on The Wire, if moving forward, how big the law enforcement characters we've seen all through the show intermittently, if they're going to play a bigger role this season, if the cat and mouse game with the FBI is going to be more front and center than it has been in past seasons. And that's kind of what we established. Curious how that's going to look moving forward. We may have more of a Tony is really living on the edge when it comes to, being indicted. But I guess we'll have to see. But kind of wondering if that's largely the way we go. I still think the other issues are going to be dealt with. I still think we're going to deal with the fallout, emotionally and otherwise, of Sal's death. We didn't get Dr. Melfi in this episode. And we're still going to, I believe, when you looked at that newspaper and said that the mob, that came from exact wording, but the mobs competing for the garbage contracts, I think that is going to play a big role this season, and I think it's Richie's family that Tony's going to be in competition with there, and I think it's going to get messy because everyone seems to think or know, they think they know, and the FBI said it here in this episode, right, that Tony killed Richie, which, of course, we know isn't the case, but that doesn't matter. That seems to be the consensus opinion. So let's see how that unfolds moving forward the rest of the season. Appreciate it, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.